Welcome to Code Without Learning to Code, where we explore how to build programs using AI. For this video, we're going to go into how to create a side-scrolling game using Python and pygame. So we're going to do everything. I'm using Claude Sonnet 4. You can use whatever you want. Gemini is good, ChatGPT is good. I do recommend having an account at least. And you will see that the premium models are a little bit better than the free models. But if you create an account, you'll at least be a pretty good spot. So this is totally new chat. It's not in a project. I'm just going to type our commands directly, and we'll see how it goes. So first, we're going to start out. We're going to basically prompt it with what we want, which is a game. We're making a side-scrolling game. So let's start with that. Alright, so here's our prompt. Basically, we want to create a side-scrolling game using Python and pygame. Now, Python is a programming language. Pygame is a game framework for Python. And then I'm given some instructions on how the game could work. We're going to use the arrow keys for movement. We're going to use the spacebar to fire. And then we want to have enemies which spawn and move towards the player. And we want to keep track of the score. So let's let Claude work on this. It does take Claude a little bit to create all the code for this. So we'll just give it a minute to write everything out, and then we'll run it and see how it works. Alright, so now Claude has created our game. He's spitting out some, basically after he's done programming, Claude will write out some text describing what he did. You can read it if you want. It's usually just repeating what's in the code, so, and instructions and things. So we can use those if we want, or we cannot use them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to basically create our program. Alright, wait, create. Alright, and I've already installed Python and pygame, so I'm not going to show that in this video. So let's see what Claude has done for us. Alright. So if I use the arrow keys, I can jump, I can crouch down, which kind of doesn't change the height of my gun here. I have a score, there's some nice clouds. It's not clear that we can actually move. It's This isn't really a side scroller as much as it's like a castle defense kind of thing. Alright, so what we're going to do now is see if Claude can basically improve our program for us. Let's see what happens if I get hit. Apparently nothing happens if I get hit. I can just attack all the enemies. Look at that. Oh, it reduces my score. Look at this. It reduces my score if I get hit. I only gain score if I shoot them down. Alright, so let's stop here. Alright, so we got a working program. Alright, so a couple things we want to change. We want to add hit points for the player, and we want to add, I think, platforms. So we're going to ask Claude. Yeah, Claude is still editing, so we're just going to wait for a couple minutes. And it does take a bit, so you have to be able to wait. Alright, so it sounds like Claude has added things we requested. Let's see what it does. So I'm just going to take the new code, copy and paste it over the old code, and run the program again. So let's see what we got. Alright, so we got some platforms we can jump on, which is nice. No, I can't get up there too easily. Bless some of these. I cannot jump onto that platform. So I can't really get to all the platforms, which is unfortunate. I've got my health bar there. Look at the health bar. That looks pretty cool. And that's something you get when you're vibe coding, is you kind of get what the AI has in mind. It doesn't really. It can be specific, but if you're not specific, it will just come up with something nifty. And you kind of have to, sometimes you just have to roll with the parts that you like and redo the parts that you don't like. So that's our game. Let's see. Game over. So right now, kind of things I don't like is I cannot jump. I can't reach all the platforms, actually. It's kind of annoying. And this level is not very interesting. It's just these ground-based guys attacking us. So we're going to ask Claude to fix that next. Alright, so let's stop this. So now I'm going to do something that is a very traditional tactic in VibeCoding, which I'm just going to copy my program. This is the latest program, and I'm going to paste it into my chat here. So instead of continuing the old conversation, I'm starting a whole new conversation with Claude. And what we want to do now is we want to create a new level, because the old level, it's neat, it works, but we want to keep going. We want to make things more interesting. So we're going to create a new level. We're going to have flying enemies. We're going to have less platforms, and I think that's going to do it. All right, so. All right, so let's see what Claude does with this. So we basically restart, refresh our context. Our context is now just the program that's working and our latest request. So Claude can just go off of that. It doesn't have to worry about the different versions we had in the previous conversation. It doesn't have to worry about any of the bugs we might have found and fixed. It's just starting fresh. And typically you're going to want to start fresh pretty often. If you're going to make a big change, or if you hit a landmark of like, all right, this program is working good, I don't really have any serious problems with it, you can just kind of take that, have it be your checkpoint, start a new conversation, have the AI work off of the complete artifact, basically. And you can, like, the technology is improving. You can go pretty far in one conversation if you want. I just find that it makes sense to kind of make a new conversation every bit. Like for this, we're probably going to do a new chat for each level. Or if we need to make a major edit, we'll do a new chat too. And this is just the most basic way to do it. We're in the chat interface. We're not using projects. We're not really doing anything other than asking Claude to build stuff. Now, one thing that did happen with basically Sonnet 4 is they increased the length of programs it can handle. So this program is in here. So we're about 600. Before Sonnet 4, we really were kind of running into trouble around 600 or so. That's when it started to get a little bit worse. Now, it's honestly, Sonnet can do up to 1,000 line programs pretty easily. So this is just our first level again. It seems like the enemies are attacking a little bit slower. I'm not 100% sure. Or maybe they speed up as your score increases. Alright, enemies are coming. Oh, there we go. These little fly. Oh, they do sway. Look at that. They're kind of hard to hit, though. Can I get up there? No, I can't. So this is kind of a problem, which is that I can't jump high enough to get onto the platform. But everything else is kind of what I wanted. I like having the ground enemies just kind of go crazy. I like the flying enemies. But my biggest problem now is that I cannot get onto the platforms. So we're gonna basically die. Alright. So that was pretty good. We got the flying enemies. They're kind of swaying. We got the 3 platforms. We still got the guys on the ground. That's everything I wanted. But I can't reach the platforms when I jump. So I have a couple options. One is I can ask Claude to move the platforms lower. The other one is I can ask Claude to make it so I can jump higher. So I think I'm going to actually just go with the jumping higher. So we're going to go back to Claude. So we're going to say, Claude, could you update the game so that the player can jump twice as high? Now, if you were a programmer, you could just go into the code and probably find the place in the code where it determines how high the player can jump. And you can do something like go in here, do a search, jump, and then you have like jump power, and it says -15. What does -15 mean? I don't know. Do you know? Claude knows, because alright, so it says -15 to -30. I don't know what these numbers mean. I just had Claude make this. But for in this case, let's see if it worked. If Claude was able to make that edit for us. And let me close the game. Here we go. Run it again. Alright, so let's do it. Alright, now we can jump all the way to the top. Look at this guy. Look how high he can jump. So maybe that's a little bit farther than we want. Alright, so I think this is too high. And Claude, let's see what Claude said. Claude said he changed it from -15 to -30. So I think 30 is too high. I'm going to change it from -30 to -20, and we'll see what that does. And this is another thing. If you're vibe coding, don't feel like you can't actually change the program. You can do whatever you want. Now this is more like what I want. See, I can jump onto all the platforms without too much trouble, and I'm not jumping to like the top of the screen out of the game, but I can still reach the platforms. So that's what we want. So let me see if it works for level 2 now. Alright, there we go. So now I can make it up onto here. Now this is still not too hard. I'm getting points, no problem. So I think I'm going to make another level next. But yeah, it's definitely, like, I think the ground enemies, they increase in number as you continue. Alright, so let's go in here. Alright, so I think we're in a pretty good spot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a new chat. I'm going to start over again. Claude, could you add a third level to my game with platforms after 400? Level should feature additional. See, I want all the old enemies and another enemy, so I'm using the word additional, which hopefully will kind of guide the AI in that direction. This enemy is a larger flying bird, which will drop launch slow moving bombs at the player. There should not be very many of this advanced enemy. It should take 2 hits to kill it. Alright, let's see what Claude can do with this. And there is a bit of waiting when you do this. It's very similar to the old days of programming when we had to wait for the code to compile for 10, 20, 30 minutes sometimes. And you're just sitting there waiting for a computer to spin. This is kind of similar, not quite the same. But you do have to wait a bit, get some coffee, get a snack, whatever you want. Alright, so we've hit the max message length. So with Sonnet 4, we honestly could just hit continue and let it keep going. And it works pretty well. With 3.7, we kind of didn't want to use the continue button because it wasn't really that effective, but with 4, the continue button works pretty well. And I think we'll still get a full game out of it. Alright, there we go. So that did take a bit. Claude was doing all sorts of stuff. I like the way Claude describes these things. It says it moves slower and more menacingly than regular enemies. 30 damage, alright. So let's now go back in here, copy this guy in, and we just run our game again. So here we go, this is the old level 1. We can still jump just fine, can get up on the platforms if I can manage to do it. There we go, now we can. I can't double jump though. At some point I gotta add power-ups to one of these games so we can actually get going, because we just got this little pea shooter here. And I can actually jump high enough to hit the flying enemies, which is nice. Got me. Alright, now we're going up to this level 3. It did not restore my health. Oh, look at these boss monsters. Look pretty dangerous. There we go, hit. And now I basically can't get onto the ground because there's just way too many of the red guys. Well, I wouldn't really say that the boss birds are very menacing, because they're not really dropping the bombs at me. Alright. And that, so let's scroll down here. So this program is about 850 lines. We coded it all up just with Claude directly. And it's a kind of pretty functional game. It's not like the most amazing. I wouldn't say this is the most amazing side. This is more of a tower defense than a side-scrolling game, because it doesn't really do any side-scrolling. But it does a good number of things. We've got shooting, we've got object detection, we've got monsters of different types, we've got our scores. We've got different levels. I kind of want to add like a better gun or power-ups or something to this, because it's kind of, if I do down arrow, no, I can't go through. Well, like something to make this a little bit more, make my guy a little bit more dangerous. And I think I might need to change the boss monster somehow. I'm not sure how. I don't think they're very menacing, honestly. I think they're kind of not very interesting. So I wonder what is. I want a way to upgrade my weapon. So let's see what Claude can do here with our new demand. This will be a little bit, push it a little harder. Claude, could you add let's see if Claude can do this. I think that would improve the game a good bit. And this may take Claude a while, because it seems to be in the flow of shooting out the whole game again. So we're probably gonna have to continue and all that kind of thing. This is where Claude code can kind of be helpful, is when you're doing a long program and you don't really want to do this long spit out bit. But right now we have about 850 lines of code for this program. It's working pretty good. We haven't run into any compilation errors or anything yet. It's just been Claude making the changes we want, and it's worked. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, I think we're going to be waiting a bit on this one. I don't know if it's really a problem or anything, but as you get higher up in the levels, the ground kind of gets just flooded with these red guys, and then you kind of like stuck. But yeah, these big birds are like, they're not very boss-like, honestly. I think they're kind of. All right, so my Claude hit his output limit again. Let's let him continue along here. And Claude has finished programming our new upgrade. Alright, so let's see what we got here. So we're just gonna, once again, just copy this in here. Boom. Somehow we're still at 850 lines. That seems suspicious. No, there we go, 1001 lines. It's more what I was expecting. Alright, so let's close this. Control C will close it, or you can just click the red close button here. Alright, so we got our game. And level 1 honestly is not very interesting. I'm kind of wondering if it actually restores your health or if it's just not working. I do think it's kind of interesting how the red guys, and this wasn't intentional or anything, but the red guys kind of force you. Here, are you kidding me? I can get it. Alright, there we go. Nice. So now we can actually get some action going here. Look at this. Wait, it spawned again. Oh, it's a temporary upgrade. Look at this. Ah. So you only get 15 seconds of a shotgun when you, actually that's kind of cool. See, this is the VibeCoding, so you get the vibe. So now I'm back to my normal blaster. So let's grab it. All right, now I got, so it's kind of like a temporary power up. So I think that's kind of cool, actually, because it forces you to move around and kind of keep your power up going. And it gives me ideas for some other power-ups I can do. Alright, so I think that's pretty much that. So what I want to do is I want to kind of I think this is enough for now. So this kind of gives you an idea of vibe coding or using AI to help you program a kind of, this is not really side scrolling, it's just a 2D bullet kind of game. We've made different enemies, we've made different levels, kind of adjusted some of the parameters, how high the jumps are. We've got power-ups now, we've got our scores. Yeah, so there's a lot you can do. Just typing the text and letting the AI work. So hope that gives you an idea of what you can do, and we'll talk to you later. And check out our website, codewithoutlearningtocode.com.